Hi again. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time to Patterns and Podcasts for Knitters. My name is Renee. I live in Northern Illinois with my husband and my dog Baloo. Baloo is a sheepadoodle, and he may stop here now and then to say hello. But today I am covering podcasts that have finished objects that are tees and tops. And I didn't call them summer knits because depending on the type of yarn we use for a project, um, it could be a little heavier, warmer, even though it's short sleeve, and lacy tops, but under a shirt or under a cardigan. It can be a year-round piece of apparel. So tops and tees. We do have an inspirational video for starters, and we have a tutorial as well. And I'll tell you, spoiler alert, we are going to feature a ranunculus. I know I have looked at, 50 different ranunculi finished objects. There are so many of them. It's such an amazing pattern. I have not knitted it, but it'll be fun. So, alrighty, let's look at who we're featuring. So here are the podcasters that we're featuring. These are all very well established. I think none of them is a brand new podcaster. And each of them has a finished object that's a top or a tee. And we do have a tutorial. It actually is a whole series on how to knit the ranunculus. So that's pretty good. That's pretty helpful. And of course, the first one is inspirational. It is from March of 2022, and I found a video where the host is going through the pom-pom issue. I think it's from March or May, somewhere around there. So anyway, let's get started and check out these podcasters. So this is Lisa, and Lisa is the owner of A Knit Sheep, which is an online yarn shop that is based in New Jersey in the States. And Lisa goes through all of the designs in the spring issue of Pom Pom magazine. The theme was Dreamscape. So this issue has been out for a while. It's issue 40, but it's a Pom Pom flip through, which are really fun. Lisa thinks that the designs and the colorways in this issue kind of remind her of summer fruit. I think she's right. She does talk about each of the designs, and I think there are about 12 to 16 patterns. So this is kind of a good way to get started thinking about lacy, summery tops, but tops and tees that I think can be used year-round. So yeah, it is kind of a fruity colorway. There's some of the yarns that are featured in this issue, and there's even a dress. It's actually this little top in the lower left corner of the slide that if you just keep on knitting, you could make it into a light filmy dress that I guess you could use year round for the right occasion. But again, enjoy. I do love these types of videos just for ideas and just to see what the, world-class designers are putting together for us knitters to take on as a project. So here's how to find this episode. This is the only episode I've ever watched of this podcaster. It's called A Knit Sheep. That's the name of the yarn shop that I believe Lisa owns. The name of this episode, to find it, just put in Pom Pom Quarterly Issue 40 Flip Through. It was uploaded in March 9th, 2022, and she does go through the magazine. It is fun. This podcaster doesn't have a lot of subscribers. I have noticed that online yarn shops or any type of commercial enterprise tends not to have a lot of subscribers, even though she has been on YouTube since 2017. Now, you never know. It could be that she hasn't posted a lot of videos. I don't know. But again, this is the only episode I've watched, and it was fun. and I hope you enjoy it too. So first up in our finished tops and tea objects is Audrey Borrego. Audrey is from France. She lives in the southwest of France. The name of her podcast is yarnFlakes, all one word. And she is a knitter and a knitwear designer. She's very sweet, very cute, and she always models, what she makes, like so many of our knitwear designers. In this episode, she talks about and models the Tosamanda tee. This is her own design. She did it in a couple different colorways. And usually her designs are quite feminine, I think. She is a highly skilled knitter, a prolific designer. This is a bit of a departure, but then it is a tee. So I think it's lovely. And she, of course, it does have, it's loose fitting. But again, that would be your choice because you can see on this photo in the center is probably one of her test knitters. She made it more to fit. So Audrey is very detailed on the fit. I think that's kind of a common thread among designers. Very likely, they kind of know that you're not going to enjoy their design unless it's fit properly. And in this case, she provides detailed information on how to fit this particular pattern, but also I would think any pattern. And she provides the chart there, the little graph with the sizing, detailed sizing in inches and in centimeters. So this is a good episode. It's quite educational. And as I said, her English, I think I said it, I don't know if I did, her English is very good. She also does this podcast in French, which is kind of fun. I studied French, so I try to pick up what I can, but I'm a deer in the headlights when somebody actually speaks to me, but I do recognize some of the words. But again, I've watched many of her podcasts, and I've learned a lot from a design perspective, and also I do think she's cute and she communicates well, and I like her designs too. This one is a little different. It's a little bit of a departure, I think. But anyway, it is a tee. So here's the pattern information. Again, the name of this tee is Rosamanda. Rosamanda? Sounds Italian. And again, it's by Audrey Borrego. Borrego? Boy, she sounds Italian. Maybe she is. But anyway, there's not a lot of information about her on her channel information other than she's a knitter and a designer. She has a suggestion for the yarn, etc., etc. It's pretty standard. You can get the pattern on Ravelry. And she may have a website. I'll have to check and see, or you can check if you do listen to this podcast. Here's how to get to this podcast in particular. Name of the podcast is yarnFlakes, podcast 127. That makes it easy to find. She calls it Stripes and Leftovers Colorwork. She has almost 9,000 subscribers, probably more by now, but that's at the time I downloaded this information. She has been on YouTube since 2017. She has over 720,000 views. That's pretty good. She's on Ravelry, Instagram, and knitwear. Audrey Borrego knitwear designs on PayHip or Lovecrafts. I haven't been on either one of those sites. So anyway, that is yarnFlakes and Audrey Borrego, the designer. Okay, so next, this is Stephanie, and Stephanie is the host of Edible Thoughts Makes. In this episode, she is modeling the Salty Air tea that she test knitted for the designer. The designer is Samantha Guerin, Guerin. And it's funny, most of these cropped lacy tees make me think of the ranunculus, but when you look at this closely, it's certainly not a copy. It's unique. But But Stephanie likes the design cropped because it's most flattering with skirts and high-waisted pants and shorts. So if you like to wear high-waisted pants, I actually do. Yeah, it's nice to have a top that just kind of skims the waistline, or you can do the French tuck. That's where you tuck it in kind of on one side. I always go back and forth on that because sometimes I think it actually just makes my belly look bigger, but whatever. But anyway, that's I think why the cropped tops are so popular, because now these high-waisted jeans and pants are available, and they are really a lot more comfortable than when you're constantly feeling you have to pull them up if they're sitting on your hips. But anyway, as the podcast indicates, she also covers some recipes and books and thoughts. So it is knitting, and she is an excellent knitter. She does a lot of test knits. And she also has a playlist. If you go to her channel, YouTube channel page, she has a playlist where she's gathered together knitting tutorials, some that she has made and others from fellow podcasters. I noticed Earth Girl is one of the podcasters that she seems to kind of identify with, and also even some podcasts or some knitting tutorials by Stephen West. The Salty Air Tee is knit seamlessly top down. It's in fingering weight yarn. All of Samantha Gurin's patterns are test knit or tech edited. I think most designers are doing this. I think it helps them. They really, universally among designers, they really use the feedback not only from test knitters, but from people who, just knit their patterns and let them know if they've had issues or what they like about the patterns. I did go to the Samantha Gurin website because I'm really curious about test knitting, and I noticed that she has a page where you can put in your email address if you're interested in being one of her test knitters, and then she'll reach out to you. So if you're really an accomplished knitter and you want to start helping out some of these designers and do some test knits, you might want to do that. I'm not ready. This Samantha Gurin, by the way, has like around 80 patterns on Ravelry, so I think she needs a lot of test knitters for sure. So this is the pattern information for the Salty Air Tee. Once again, this was a test knit. It is knitted. The design is by Samantha Gurin, and I did go to the yarn website, the Lavender Loon Yarn Company, and looked at some of the colorways there. It is a single ply linen yarn that the designer recommends. But everything is there on Ravelry. The designer does have a very nice website. If you do want to go there, I don't think you'll have any trouble finding her website. And once again, Stephanie also has a very good project page. It is called the Edible Thoughts Makes project page, and she does have the process that she went through in knitting, doing the test knit on the Salty Air Tee, if that helps you. So this is how you get to the episode that when the Salty Air Tee is a finished object, and also a whip. So there are two you can go to. Episode 88, Gardening Knitting Outside, So Many Sweaters, Edible Thoughts Makes. That was in July of 2022. And the whip episode is episode 84, Garden Update, Sweet and Savory Eats, One Yarn, Three Ways, and that's Edible Thoughts Makes, April 30, 2022. So that's when she was working on this particular test knit. Since November of 2019, Stephanie has had over 90,000 views. And again, she does have an Edible Thoughts Makes projects page on Ravelry, and she is also on Instagram. Next up is Kristen Lehrer. Kristen is the host of her own podcast on YouTube, and she is a New York-based yarn dyer and an exceptional knitter. In her own words, the yarn that she dyes and offers for sale, she says it's mostly known for dreamy, gothic-themed colorways, and she dyes upon luxurious yarn bases. I went to her website. It's a very nice website, and she does show the bases, and then she shows the colorways available. Again, she's a small operation. The name of her yarn business is Woolenvine Yarns, Voolenvine. So Woolenvine Yarns, but it's probably Woolenvine in German. I don't know for sure. But she has her dye studio in her home. She calls it the Dye Dungeon. And I didn't see a lot of macabre yarns. I thought her yarn colorways were very, very pretty. A lot of, natural looking colors, not too bright. The kind of yarn that you feel comfortable knitting with, I think. In this episode, she is just finished the Soldotna, Soldotna, Soldotna Crop by Caitlin Hunter. That pattern has been knitted in just about every colorway imaginable. Just beautiful. It's so neat to see all of the different ways you could make the same pattern look. I think what Kristen did is beautiful. It's perfect for fall. It's autumn colors. The little cap sleeve, obviously you could knit long sleeves on a pattern like this, but that makes it so nice for layering. And of course, indoors, it's not always chilly. So it could be a year-round pattern, again, depending on the type of yarn that you choose. So this is knit with DK weight yarn. She used her own hand-dyed yarn for this pattern. You can also see in these pics that there is a green in it. It's kind of hard with photos and screenshots. You don't always get the full effect of the color. But I think she really chose well on this. The browns, the golds, and that green is so perfect for the autumn look that I think she was going for. If you go on Ravelry, Kristen has about 11 patterns. And then she has some patterns on her website. The Woolenvine website is very easy to navigate, and as I said, she displays her yarn bases and current colorways, and she gives you a lot of information about how she dyes yarn and kind of what she's going for. But I think that this pattern is so beautiful, and she obviously is a very, very accomplished knitter. So here is the pattern information. It's the Soldotna Crop by Caitlin Hunter. It has been out for a while. It was published in March of 2019, and I did get the pattern information from Ravelry, but I replaced the recommended yarn with what Kristen used for the Soldotna Crop that she knitted. And you can see there, she used her own yarn, of course, being in that business. It's the Woolenvine yarn called Smitten DK. She put in all the information on how much she used, the colorway, etc. And I did go to her website to get the information. Oh, my dog is barking. Oh well, gotta go. But let's go on and figure out how to get to this episode. So here is how to get to this episode in particular. Again, the finished object is the Soldotna crop. The name of the podcast is Kristen Lehrer Podcast on YouTube. The name of this episode is Woolenvine, episode 334, Yokeville. And as you can see, Kristen Lehrer is a very successful podcaster. She has over 44,000 subscribers. I'd kind of put her in the same category as an Andrea Mowry, where, she's a serious, prolific designer, has a very, very well-established podcast, and is very well known in the knitting world. But but she is basically focusing on yarn dyeing, although she does have a lot of her own designs. So Kristen Lehrer on Ravelry, you can find her there, or go to her Woolen Yarns website. So that is Kristen Lehrer. And the puppy is going to go back outside. And one last word on the Soldotna crop. There was a Soldotna long, so cute, by a podcaster. I did not watch her podcast. I just watched part of the tutorial. The name of the podcast is Aurora Talks Knit, and she actually put in a 7-episode knit along to make the Soldotna crop. It's you could start with episode 1, Soldotna long, swatching and color work, or you could just go to the Aurora Talks Knit channel and see everything that she has there. But if you want to knit this pattern, it looks like you can get a lot of help doing it. Aurora Talks Knit has over 5,000 subscribers. She has been on YouTube since 2011, over 300,000 views, and I just discovered her because I was looking for tutorials on this particular pattern. So that is a little bit more information. Next up is another knitwear designer. This is Lily Kate France. France is her last name. Lily Kate lives in the UK, and she's young and she is very talented. Lily Kate she's 24 years old, and she said she actually published her first pattern when she was 12. She lives in the UK. She says she's an extrovert in an introvert's body because she's so dedicated to knitting and designing. She has 89 patterns on Ravelry, and I just kind of looked them over, and they're all so beautiful, very, very feminine. In this episode, she talks about the poisoned apple. This is a top that is so versatile. I think you could do it casual. You see her wearing it there with a pair of shorts, and obviously it can even be done for evening wear. I love it in white. She had a lot of test knitters for this, and there are many versions that you can look at if you're thinking about knitting it. The sheer bodice is what really gets me. The big, I think square necklines are so flattering to begin with, but to have the fabric and then it really sets off those little cap sleeves. I mean, I'm not a designer, but again, I kind of know what I like. But you can dress this up for evening, and it is slim enough. I think the cap sleeves are tiny enough that you could even layer with this. And of course, with the sheer bodice showing through under a cardigan, that might be really pretty. So again, in this episode, Lily Kate really goes into the details on the pattern and how she knitted this particular one. I think designers, and I can't recall if she actually said this or if I just thought about it, they really rely on feedback from knitters. When they get the feedback, I think it helps them with their forward designing, or maybe they will actually make adjustments to something that they've already published. I think her designs, the variation is quite good. She does design size inclusive. The hard thing is, of course, when we look at a petite model, we think, well, it may not translate to the larger sizes or taller sizes or shorter sizes, but I think that her patterns are nicely varied so that you probably could find something to use. I think she also talks a lot about the button loop that she made in the back and how she really had to work at getting that right and easily understood in the pattern. So here's the pattern information. The poisoned apple top, Lily Kate France, and again, France is her last name. You can search any of those words on Ravelry and get to this pattern pretty easily. And she also has her Lily Kate Francis Ravelry store. You can go there. And she does have a website and she has a blog, so she's really pretty accessible to the public because this is her business. It is a DK weight yarn, and she has a suggestion for the yarn, but I think that there are many other examples, and if you did put this poisoned apple top in YouTube or Instagram, you probably could see other examples of people, ladies, who have knitted this pattern. So here's information on this episode in particular. It's Lily Kate Makes. That's the name of the podcast. Lily Kate Makes podcast number 5, Poisoned Apple Top and Why I Only Make Garments. That was in March of 2021. And Lily Kate Makes podcast number 7, Poisoned Apple Top, Knitting Pain, and Teeny Weeny Baby Knits. I didn't watch that whole episode, but I did look at the part of it where she's talking about this particular pattern. She has almost 5,000 subscribers. Lily Kate Makes. She has been on YouTube since October of 2020, so that's not a very long time actually. And she has over 173,000 views. So Lily Kate France on Ravelry. And when you do watch her videos, look to see what other links are there. I'm pretty sure she's all over the place by this time. Next up is another designer. This is Jane Ball, B-A-L-L-E. The name of her podcast is Mindful Making, and she is a knitter who lives in Sydney, Australia, but she's a Danish expat, so her patterns are published in English and in Danish. She's an exceptional knitter, and she's also a very well-established knitwear designer and has her own website and sells her patterns online directly and on Ravelry. The name of this design is the Gum Nut Tree. And I remember watching this episode and she explained why she came up with that name, but I can't remember. I know it's a big tree native to Australia. I like her designs. I think I kind of call these grown-up designs. These are things that I would wear. Not that I don't wear youngish things sometimes, but this is a really neat yoke design on a t-shirt. Of course, it's similar to, the Soldotna one that we just saw, but not quite as colorful. It's a little bit more rustic, but I really like it. And of course, the look of something is really based more on the design, on the yarns you choose. Designs are so versatile in terms of the feeling, that you end up with when you finish them based on the yarns and the colorway. So in this episode, she goes into great detail on the fit, the yarn, the stitches. The gum nut tee is top down, knitted in the round, seamless. As you can see, she's done it here in a short sleeve, but you probably could do a long sleeve or 3/4 length, whatever you want. She also used a beautiful hand-dyed yarn. It's a blend of merino and bamboo. I have never knitted with bamboo yarn. I want to try that. But I think the color work is really elegant in this, although somewhat rustic. I don't know if you can have those two together. The color work pattern uses slipped stitches, and it's kind of a pop of color. I remember her saying it's a relaxed stockinette body, but it's cute. It's not huge. It's not big. You probably could knit this in pretty quick time. She says on her website, I went to her website and read it, that she really does her designs based on, she calls it elegant simplicity of Danish knitting. I am not that well versed in Danish knitting. I'm trying to think of some that I know of. I've watched a couple episodes of Danish knitters, and I don't know. To me, the Shetland wool styling and the Danish, the Norwegian, well, I guess the Norwegian Scandinavian is quite distinctive. But anyway, Again, I know what I like. I'm not sure I know how to analyze what I like. So again, this is Jane Ball, and Mindful Making Designs is the name of her website. But this is a very good episode if you are interested in knitting this pattern in particular. Here is the pattern information. Again, Gumnut Tea by Jane Ball. She does have a Ravelry store. It's her name, Jane Ball's Ravelry store. This is a new design. It was published new. I'm doing this in September 2022. This was published in July of 2022. And she talks about the yarn that she recommends, etc., etc. So everything is there that you need if you're interested in knitting this. Here is the episode information. Again, Mindful Making number 42, Gumnut Tea, August 2nd, 2022. So this is, as I said, pretty recent stuff. Her podcast is Mindful Making, all one word. She has almost 4,500 subscribers, and she has been on YouTube since 2011. It's Tuesday, it's garbage day. You probably can hear the garbage guys out there picking it up every Tuesday, like clockwork. So again, since October 2011, over 120,000 views. The Gumnut Tea pattern is available on Ravelry.com and on Jane Ball's website, mindfulmaking.com.au, Australia. So that is Jane Ball. Next up is a very well-established podcaster. This is Chandi, Chandi, who is the founder and owner of Expression Fiber Arts. And she has many, many, many videos on YouTube. Chandi, and I don't know, I have to find this out. I wonder if she's also known as Emily Walton, the designer, because all of the Emily Walton designs, patterns, are what she has on her website and what she teams up and recommends her yarn for. Because Expression Fiber Arts is a online yarn shop, very well established, pretty big inventory, and Chandi is very, very active in the knitting world. In this episode, she's modeling the Hadi top, H-A-D-I, the Hadi top. It's very pretty. I would say all of the patterns that Chandi recommends are very feminine, very pretty. Similar to the podcaster we just looked at, the Mindful Making podcast. Again, I think these are designs for grown-ups. And again, most of the things that I see on her podcasts are things that I would wear. Now the story is that Chandi runs the business with her husband. She said working with him is a dream. Her story, she's very open about her story. She started her website and her business when she was going through a divorce. She needed an income and a career. She didn't start knitting until she was 27 years old. She doesn't look much older than that now. I don't know how old she is, but she's quite beautiful. And she models all of the designs, patterns that she recommends on her website and in her podcasts. In this episode, and like in many, many of her episodes, she includes a step-by-step tutorial, which I think is so helpful. The photography is excellent. Everything she does is top-notch. I would assume, she's been doing this for quite a few years, and you get better and better at it. But I would say she's one of the best in terms of being well organized, thorough. Her scripts are, it doesn't sound scripted. She's very friendly and very sweet. But if you want to learn, and if you want to also do a project where you're using the yarns that she recommends, you'll probably be quite successful at the end of the day. Here is the pattern information. Now that I'm really looking at this top, it's so cute. It's so feminine. I don't know when the cap sleeves just kind of stick out like that and a little bit of a boat neck. It's so feminine and so pretty. It really sets off your smile as it does hers. So again, it's the Hadi, H-A-D-I, by Emily Walton. It is published in Expression Fiber Arts. Everything related to Shandi is under Expression Fiber Arts or Emily Walton, I'm finding. She has the suggested yarn. I did go to her yarn store and I downloaded some pictures of some colorways that you could consider for this design. It is fingering weight yarn. You can see it's lacy and very feminine. Here's how you get to this episode in particular. It is the Hadi Tee, knitting a simple summer top. This was published in June of 2020. Again, it's Expression Fiber Arts. She has, oh my goodness, almost 400,000 subscribers. As you can see, she's really very well established, but she has been on YouTube since 2011, and she has close to 40 million views. Now, with a very well-established podcaster like this, if you did want to go back and look at some videos from when she started, if you're interested in looking for particular patterns, if you get to know her a little bit better, I'm going to use my little yellow marker here. If you click on the podcaster name, Expression Fiber Arts, that'll take you to the channel information. And in the channel information, you can go to the About tab and see a little bit about her story. You can go to the Video tab and see the whole list of all the videos. And she probably, and I seem to remember this, they also will have groups of her videos, or videos grouped under certain titles that are kind of a certain subject matter. When you are watching the video and you want to see the show notes, they always talk about they're going to put links and show notes at the bottom. It took me a while to figure this out, believe it or not. I'm kind of slow at things. Just click on the title of the particular episode and all of the information will open up. That's if you're on a mobile device. If you are on a PC, then there's just a more link. You hit the more link and everything opens up. So just click around and practice and you will see how to get the most out of these podcasts and the episodes. So that is Expression Fiber Arts. I think I have a typo in there. I'll correct it before I post this. It'll be perfect when you see it. So next up is this. She's actually one of my favorites. This is Kat, who is the host of Kat Kelly Crafts, and she's Irish. She publishes her YouTube videos from Northern Ireland. She lives near Belfast. And in this episode, she said she can't believe it. She finally knitted the ranunculus sweater top. And, obviously we've all heard so much about it, but it did not disappoint. She absolutely loved knitting this top. And Kat only started knitting in 2020. So what is that, a couple of years ago? And she's really very good. She did knit her ranunculus in a variegated yarn. And she did say, we all know that variegated yarns don't always show the stitch pattern that well because the variation in the color and the little dots of different colors sometimes kind of disguise the stitch pattern. But she loves the yarn that she used and she loves the result. She refers to the yarn as Emma's yarn. She talks about Emma a lot. Well, Emma owns the Woolly Mammoth Yarn Company. Everything is local, all in Northern Ireland, although I guess Emma has to use a spin mill in Wales, but she tries to do everything as closely to home as possible, home being Belfast. But anyway, so Kat talks a lot about her. I guess it's like a friend now, Emma. She purchased a set of peachy, pinky, purpley yarn. That's kind of how she describes the colorway in her ranunculus. And of course, there's a million photos of ranunculus by Midori Hirose. Some, as you're seeing, loose fitting, some tight, show your shape. I've seen them long sleeve, I've seen them sleeveless, I've seen them all different ways, but it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. So as you can see, she models the colorway especially. She loves the way it went from, she decided she would start with the pink and go to the pinky purple, I think she called it. She's very, very sweet and a lot of fun to listen to. But again, it's the ranunculus, and she does put labels on her videos, which is kind of nice, makes it easy. When you're watching a video and sometimes you're not hearing a particular, let's say the name of a yarn or something, you can always turn your subtitles on. Subtitles are not perfect, but it'll give you a better idea of what was said than just trying to go back and keep replaying it. At least I've learned that. Of course, Kat speaks with the Irish brogue, but she's very clear, and it's a really pleasant podcast to watch. Here is the pattern information with the suggested yarn, which is not the one that Kat used. But if you do, want to get the information exactly on that yarn, you can go to the Woolly Mammoth website, which I did, to download some pics and things of the colorway. So pretty easy to get the information if you want to knit a ranunculus by Midori Hirose. Oh, I said that kind of like an Italian. It's Hirose. I'm not sure how to say it, but anyway, you know what I mean. So here's how to get to this episode in particular. Kat Kelly Crafts is the name of the podcast. The name of this episode is Kat Kelly Crafts Episode 2, Knitting Podcast, a chat about the Northern Ireland yarn community. Oh, that must have been later on in the podcast. I don't remember that. But anyway, and this was published on YouTube in June of 2021. So Kat Kelly Crafts, she has almost 1,500 subscribers. She has been, actually she's been on since 2016. I never went back and looked, but I'll bet you she has some crafting videos that she started with and then switched to knitting, because she's only been knitting since 2020. So she obviously is quite good at crafting. She has she has over 230,000 views. Again, Kat is also on Instagram. It's &A Kat Kelly Crafts if you are an Instagram fan and want to see what she's uploading there. So a little bit more on the ranunculus pattern. This is a 17 episode knit along if you are interested in knitting the ranunculus. Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks is an excellent channel for tutorials, especially tutorials that are put together by somebody who really knows her yarn. Not that all educators don't, but Sun Dragon Art and Fiber is a yarn art supply shop in the States. They're in Brevard, North Carolina. I guess they have a storefront there. It's a downtown shop. I've never seen it, but I would love to visit it. Rebecca is the shop owner, and I call her a master knitter because she's so knowledgeable, but at the same time, I don't know that she has that designation. I know that's a designation that people actually earn formally, but whenever she can grab some time, she goes to her home and she puts together tutorials. And this one in particular, 17 episodes. This is going to take you row by row through making a ranunculus. So here's how you get to this episode. It's Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks, the Ranunculus series. And you could start with video 1. It's an overview of collar cast-on options. So she really gets into the nitty-gritty. Knitting, ranunculus, knit along, help, part 1, cast on overview. This was done in March of 2022. So kind of around the same time that Kat was doing hers that we just looked at. She has about 5.3, in fact, she has 5.36 thousand subscribers, and she has been podcasting only since 2020 and has 630,000 views. The people who do the tutorials, and they seem to get a lot of views. I think because so many of us need help, and we're always happy to, open up a tutorial and see what we can see, and especially if we're looking for something in particular. So again, Sun Dragon tips and tricks. If you are knitting a ranunculus, definitely dial it up. So that wraps up this episode of Patterns and Podcasts for Knitters. Again, we covered podcasts where the podcasters have a top or T as their finished object. We have a tutorial if you want to go back and look, but I will put everything in the show notes so that you can just go to these episodes directly. If you are in YouTube, that'll make it easy. Please include comments. If you are a fan of any of these podcasters, let us know why. If you can recommend others or finished object episodes that have been particularly helpful to you, put them in the comments. I've learned so much from reading comments, and they've kind of led me to more research and more ideas. So I think knitters are awesome. We all share. I mean, it's good. It's the only way you get better. So we can cover, once again, who we covered here. These are the podcasts and the episodes, and you can go check them out. Also, we will be looking at the comments and pick out a winner. I'll probably just put all of the helpful comments into a batch and then use the YouTube comment picker little techie device to pick a winner. And the prize will be a choice between yarn, which we all know and love, or a premium channel subscription to YouTube. I think you've heard me say I'm a big fan of the premium channel. I can save videos. I don't watch the ads because the ads just don't appear, and it's kind of quick. I mean, if you really do use and enjoy YouTube videos, I think it's not a bad idea to have a premium membership. So that's it for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you at the next one.